The Calgary Flames have plenty of fish to fry this offseason, and they're starting with some coaching changes, and we're going to talk about a big fish to fry coming out of Buffalo.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today, we're going to be talking about Trent Cull being promoted full-time to the NHL as the Flames' new assistant coach, as well as some other changes. And, of course, we're going to have to talk about Bowen Byram, a 23-year-old defenseman out of Buffalo that is consistently being connected to Calgary, so might be something there. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcast, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And let's just jump right into this because it was a very big surprise, I would say, out of nowhere today. The Flames announced this afternoon that they are hiring Trent Cull as a full-time assistant coach. He came up with the Flames last season when Brad Larson had to take a leave of absence. This comes just about 13 hours after Dan Lambert was parting ways with the Flames. To be entirely honest with you, I think a lot of people were okay. Like, it wasn't a shock. I saw some people who didn't even know who he was. And that's a good and a bad thing, I guess. I think really your role as an assistant coach is to be obviously like the second in command behind the coach. And maybe if you lead with a stronger presence, Flames know who you are. Trent Cull has been the Wranglers head coach now for a few seasons, and the Wranglers only lost one game the entire month of October, which to me is still such an impressive stat considering they didn't have Dustin Wolf anymore and most of their prospects had graduated. But they had a lot of great talent show up, and it was a 28-1 record to begin the regular season. That is pretty good. And they finished the season with a 37-28, 4-3 record. So I think this is obviously a good decision. Again, it's unfortunate that Brad Larson had to take a leave of absence this season, but with a silver lining of the Flames were able to use that time as an opportunity to see if Trent Cull was maybe the right decision. Was it on their radar? Is it something that was considered? And the difference he made in that time just happened to be enough. And the Flames liked him enough to keep him up there permanently. And obviously the coaching search for a new AHL bench manager is underway. So I think that the Flames are in good hands. Do I start speculating about what's to come for Ryan Huska? Because the typical shelf life of a coach is 3 years. Not really. I think the Flames organization is not one to just kind of throw their coaches under the bus mid-season unless, it got pretty bad for Brad Treliving to fly out to Ottawa mid-pandemic and fire Jeff Ward. So, I mean, it takes a lot, and it took a lot for them to fire Sutter, even in the offseason. So I don't think they're heading down the route of firing Huska by any means. But to me, this feels like, based on the Flames' history of literally promoting assistant coach to head coach, assistant coach to head coach, I'm going to say that Trent Cull will likely be a candidate down the line, should he still be with the organization. But I think it's good to have, fresh eyes on the team, but also he's still familiar with the team. And by fresh eyes, I don't mean someone that's, never looked at this team before, but someone that wasn't with them through all 82 games, but with them at a point in the season where they had max pressure was applied. So I like that. I think that that's a very good opportunity for the Flames and also for Trent Cull. I think he's, a pretty smart hockey guy, and I would like to see, what happens. I don't know it hasn't been announced what his responsibilities will be and if we're seeing a shift in anything, but I would assume special teams in some aspect, as well as, maybe the defense, considering he is a former defenseman. But I mean, to me, it's a good call. It's not one that I necessarily saw coming, but with Lambert's departure, who is not related to Lane Lambert, by the way, who got announced as Seattle's head coach yesterday. So there was a little bit of confusion there for people being like, oh, he's going to join his brother. And it's like, oh, no, there's no relation. But I think the Flames are still in good hands. I don't think it's anything you have to worry about to any extent. The Flames seem fine. I understand that there are people on the Fire Huska train, because I do think that there have been mistakes. But if we fired every NHL coach over mistakes, there would be no NHL coaches. So coming up next, we're going to shift gears big time. We're going to look at a different target for the Flames and who may be on their radar, and that would be Bowen Byram, who is a Stanley Cup champion and also a current Buffalo Sabre, who has officially requested a trade out of there. And what could a 6'4" 23-year-old defenseman bring to the Flames? Coming up next. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there has never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Are you going to be betting on the Stanley Cup final? Because I personally don't want to see the Stanley Cup come back to Alberta unless it is with the Flames. So go Cats, go. And new to FanDuel, it is perfect. It is the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in and making Locked On Flames part of your day. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. We've talked a lot about the Flames acquiring forwards, especially centers, when it comes to this offseason and finding a way to boost their offense. But what about their defense? Because their defense absolutely needs work, and it should be a point of priority, I would say. But you don't want to acquire what you already have. That's why the Flames being in on Aaron Ekblad when they're trying to trade Rasmus Andersson doesn't make sense. They are the same age. They do the same thing. So what's the point there, right? It's one of the moves that doesn't make sense to me. And if the Flames really don't think that their current defensive prospects that are on the cusp of making the NHL, like Jeremy Poirier, like Solo, like Kuznetsov, figure something out. Do something. Because there are players out there in your system right now, like Hunter Brusewicz and Zane Parekh, who are looking to make that jump and be NHL regulars. So, it's not always a seniority thing by any means, but I feel like the Flames have kind of strung a few of their players along for quite some time. And now that there's some cap flexibility along with promising prospects, they're kind of able to move on from that. But who is Bowen Byram? Byram spent his junior career with the Vancouver Giants of the WHL. He was drafted 4th overall by the Colorado Avalanche in 2019. Injuries have played a big part in his career so far. He hasn't been fully healthy as before this season, and the highest total of games played is just 55. So that is obviously a big concern, but he's 23 years old. And just like Marco Rossi, who's had a few bouts with injuries, you can't just write someone off, especially when there is still a lot of talent left. And I just want to say that I am citing, let's see, it is from the win column. It's by Gurpal Singh, fantastic writer over there at the win column. Great crew over there, if I do say so myself. They'd be a good fit for Byram. I think that his age makes him a great target, obviously. And he fits the timeline of what the Flames are looking for long term. And there's untapped potential. And I think that that's like one of the most attractive parts of any player that the Flames are trying to acquire. And he fits the bill. And if you're looking to move on from a player like Rasmus Andersson, it leaves space, right? And the more space you have, it's kind of for the better. The Flames are set on the right side. I think that the left side is a little bit weaker, I will say. And the Flames acquiring a left-handed defenseman who would actually play on the left side would be great, because not everyone is going to be a Mackenzie Weegar where they can play on their offside just as strong. So this is what the potential pairings could look like. Kevin Ball and Mackenzie Weegar. I like that. Byram and Zane Parekh. Okay. I think that'd be cool. 2 young players, both very good. Solo or Jake Bean with Braden Pahal or Hunter Brustewicz. It's not bad. I think, I really don't necessarily see a world where the Flames need to have like Joel Hanley in the lineup anymore when there are better options out there. I do not think Jake Bean or Miramonov should be in the top 4 defensive pairings. They are not it's not required for them to be in the top 4 pairing anymore. And Gurpal cites, Mackenzie Weegar would also be able to move back to his natural side on the right. And he has had great success on his left side. But I think, there's a reason why it's naturally your right side. And I think, we don't know what the cost of an RFA would be. I don't think that the Flames are really in a position where they need to offer sheet Byram. I think that would be silly. Although his agent is is familiar with offer sheets. He is Dylan Holloway's agent. So we all know what happened there. But I guess the other risk would be, a long-term contract. It's tough, right? It's tough because you are not necessarily in a position where you want to be giving out another contract that you regret. I think it is realistic for the Flames to pursue him, without a doubt. It makes sense, but I do worry with the amount of uncertainty surrounding his injuries and his potential. And does he want, as an RFA, let's say he gets traded to Calgary, does he want to sign just like a 4-year deal? Or is he looking for something long-term, which the Flames shouldn't just give out? It doesn't necessarily make any sense. But in my opinion, I don't know. Guys, this is just something that I've spent all day thinking about because the Flames have a ton of cap space. And we talked about it yesterday, about utilizing that cap space. But utilizing it for good. I think that would be, the biggest part of this, and not making silly mistakes. But coming up next, we're going to talk more about Bowen Byram. And, let's say for giggles that Buffalo just happens to not be on Rasmus Andersson's no-trade list. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you are following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Jess Belmosto. Right now, I'll do a little bit of digging into Byram's, player profile. 23-year-old left-handed defenseman. There is a ton of speculation surrounding his future in Buffalo. He has supposedly officially requested a trade. So that instantly, the Flames' ears perk up. It makes a lot of sense. I think that, right now, if, I'm looking at the Flames roster, Jake Bean and Kevin Ball and Jake Bean and Kevin Ball are your only rostered left-handed defenseman. So you need someone there. You need someone for Weegar. And like I'd mentioned before, maybe that person is Kevin Ball. Or maybe you put Byram there. I don't think that Mackenzie Weegar should have to carry dead weight this season. I think he did enough of that last year. So I think Kevin Ball is a good option. I think, depending on where Byram, how he plays in the Flame system, that could be someone. I don't think Miramonov needs to be in the Flames lineup at all. I don't think that's a controversial take. But his defense has just been a liability. One thing that made me very happy while I was looking at his statistics was the fact that he was not a minus player. He's a plus 12, which to me is pretty good. Obviously, I know plus minus is an outdated, silly stat, but looking at Byram and looking at Andersson, to me, it just makes sense to clear out the older player that knows he's on his way out, that was a minus 38, didn't really do too much last season, for a young player that wants to be on the power play, but isn't because Owen Power and Dahlin are on their spots on the power play. So there's room for him to slot in. I think the Flames are able to be kind of experimental with not just their special teams, but their roster as a whole. And like I'd mentioned before, if the Flames don't think their prospects are NHL defensemen or NHL ready, do something about it. Because We talked about it last week too. Like there are several log jams in this organization that just have to be freed up somehow. So let's say you trade Rasmus Andersson. Okay. You allow a spot to become open, and you're integrating Parekh and Hunter Brustewicz into the lineup. Great. You're the part of like this rebuilding, retooling situation is getting younger. And those 3 defensemen right there are part of your long-term plan. I mean, I would say Zane Parekh is for sure. And I would assume Byram if you're signing him, and probably Brustewicz, but I feel like you still have to feel him out at the NHL level after just 1 game. But no, in all seriousness, I think all of these guys bring something to the table that is attractive for the Flames defense right now and also down the road. I don't expect Zane Parekh to come into this lineup and be a Norris Trophy candidate. Same with Brustewicz. And Byram, he could use a fresh start. I think the issue in Buffalo with him right now is the fact that he's not getting the playing time that he wants. And he's not going to get that because the roles that he wants to play are already filled. And it may be worth the interest. I think back to the Kuzmenko trade, because when Kuzmenko was acquired, I believe it was Huska that talked with him and said, you're going to be on the power play. You're going to be playing more minutes. You're going to have more responsibility here than you did in Vancouver under Rick Tocchet, where we saw your play decline. So maybe this kind of helps bring him out of his shell a little bit more and get closer to that full potential. We don't know. No one knows. But it is something that, that option's always there. And the Flames, like I'd mentioned earlier, are always kind of in this situation where, they're hoping for the best. They're hoping this team doesn't score so they can make the playoffs. They're hoping that, their young forwards pop. They're hoping to find a right-hand center that isn't going to cost 6 first-round picks and a kidney. Like, your hopes are great, but what are you actively doing to bring people in? And I think the first move here is obviously moving out Rasmus Andersson, because there doesn't need to be more of a logjam. The Flames are in a position where they should and could be packaging these 6th, 7th defensemen like Jake Bean and Miramonov. In these trades, I don't think you're trading Rasmus Andersson with Jake Bean and Miramonov and a 2nd-round pick all at once. I think you have the option to package them. And at the end of the day, that's why this draft capital matters. So you can put together little deals and sweeten a deal. I don't know what it would take to get Byram. Doesn't seem like an offer sheet candidate, in my opinion. Made it clear he wants out of Buffalo. So why don't we get to working on a trade? I would assume it's going to take a bit of a chunk to get him. He's 23 years old. But if the Sabres are kind of in a situation the Flames were in a few years ago where, Noah Hanifin kind of like forced their hand, Sabres can't be too picky about what they're getting back. So, again, it's a situation, and not so great, sticky situation for Buffalo. But I think the Flames can kind of dictate that, and that might be better and more so in their favor than going against the current. And in terms of, a good offer sheet candidate, I think Matthew Knies is like the best one, but I don't know how good Matthew Knies is without Austin Matthews and William Nylander or Mitch Marner. Like there are a lot of factors there, and we haven't seen him at the NHL level without his elite players surrounding him. But at the end of the day, the Flames still have a lot of work to do. Whether it be moving forwards out so you can start working in these younger kids, or just because you're having more flexibility in your lineup, and really beefing up your defense. That way, Dustin Wolf doesn't have to stand on his head for 82 games again. I think it's important for the Flames to recognize patterns, and wearing out your 23, 24-year-old goaltender in back-to-back seasons is not going to go well, and it's not going to last long. So, in my honest opinion, the Flames should be doing everything they can to be adding a player like Byram. And he has been consistently connected to the Flames alongside Marco Rossi. So that'll do it for me here on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. And I will see you all tomorrow.